All
right, ready when the eyes are.
Hey, Ron, given what Sam has gone through with a lot of the sacks and hits, is there any surprise that by you that he's able to, as you talked about yesterday, keep his eyes downfield and the way he's handling stuff in the pocket? Any surprise to that at all?
No, John, I think the biggest thing more than anything else is you can see now the trust and comfort level that he's starting to develop and grow, not just with his teammates and the offensive line, but the confidence in the receivers being where they need to be. The back stepping up to block, the tight ends involved in the protections, and then the offensive linemen themselves. But also you can see the comfort level in which he's executing the play call. How he's involved in the protections, how he's involved in checking with the receivers and changing routes and stuff like that. I mean, it's taken a little bit to get there. And we kind of figured it would take some time. Didn't expect him to take as many hits as he did early on, but I think what's happening is I think the confidence is starting to really show, and that's important.
That's important. Were you ever concerned about that, and why hasn't it affected him the way maybe it has some other young quarterbacks?
Yes, definitely concerned, and a couple times we did think about pulling him at the end of some games that but at the same time in talking with EB, it was about the growth and development, and the only way he was going to learn was to stay in there, and and it's kind of working itself out. I mean, that's the best part of it, is that it is working itself out. And you can see him just play with much more and more confidence, and you see the confidence in which his teammates are playing alongside him. So that's been a huge plus for us as well.
Ron, with Emanuel, how much of his improvement this past game was mental versus something he changed physically or technique-wise?
I think it was more about just learning and understanding and getting what it takes to play the position. I think a big part of it, too, was working some of the technique things that we're asking of him. He still has a ways to go. I mean, he did some good things, but there's still some things that we're missing that he's got to get better at, and he's got to understand how important those things are. And, we'll continue to harp on it. We'll continue to challenge him, and we'll see how it goes.
And with Larson up front, I mean, what is the line doing differently, better than before? I mean, what's the biggest change with him at center?
Well, I think the biggest change with him and Chris Paul is, first of all, there's probably about 60 pounds. They're both 330, so there's a lot of girth between our two guards and our center. I think that's been a big part of it. They're very stout. And then secondly, I think the big part of it too has really been Tyler's, how veteran Tyler is, his experience, his understanding and feel for what we're doing and how we're doing it.
Ron, more on Sam Howell. It's one thing for the coaching staff to believe in him and to kind of see his future with this franchise, and it's kind of another thing to hear from his teammates. I don't know if you saw Jonathan Allen's comments after the game saying he thinks Washington has found their quarterback for the next 5 to 10 years. What's your read on that? How important is that for the players to come out and publicly say that, to have that belief in a young quarterback in just his second year, 10 career starts?
Well, I think it's important, first of all, just from the aspect that, when your teammates have that kind of confidence in you, that's a good thing. I mean, we went through it with Taylor Heineke. The guys believe with Taylor they had a chance, and I think this is, what's kind of coming of this is the guys believe there's a chance with Sam. And we haven't arrived by any means yet. We're still growing. We're still developing. We're still learning. There's still some facets of what we want to do offensively that we've got to get better at and develop and grow. But by all means, this is a good step when the players start talking about him in that role, in that capacity. And again, we still have to, come a ways, things to learn. And so we're not there. We're not where we want to be, but we're working that way. And it's it's one of those things where you see the confidence that he has, that his teammates are having and developing and growing, and the coaching as well. I mean, it's one thing for EB to game plan and put things on on the game plan menu. It's a different thing to go out and call it and do the things that EB wants to do. And you see that in his play calling. You see the rhythm, and it's really kind of come together. But there's still more room for us to grow. So we're excited about this.
Ron, during your time here in Washington, your teams play really well in November. I think you're 9-3 here in Washington record-wise in November. Why do you think your team usually plays really well in the month of November?
Well, I think it's where we've kind of gotten to as far as, some of the things that we've had to learn and grow with. I mean, one thing we really haven't had has been the quarterback position settled. A couple years ago, we had it settled after the San Diego game, and Taylor became our guy for a while. And then but my first year and my third year, we were going back and forth. This year, we've been going with Sam from day one, and I think as guys are getting used to it, he's getting used to it. He's developing his confidence. Plus, now that EB is I think even more and more comfortable with our guys and with what he wants to do, I think we can hopefully continue to be successful in November and carry this into December.
Ron, what are specific plays or looks where you can see Tyler's veteran experience coming into play, helping the line, helping Sam?
Well, there's a couple things that you can point to, and some of it is, helping to ID the direction that the protection is going to go and the type of protection we're going to use. And then you see them trying to pass a snap off guys as far as trying to pass them from one blocker to the other. There was an instance, and I can't remember exactly the play specifically, but they had a three-man stunt, and one of our guards wasn't coming off. So Taylor came back and left Sam where he was, and he picked up the crosser. I mean, that was a very veteran move. Was watching it today with the offensive coaches, and that was one of the things that stood out was just how savvy Tyler was when he saw that. He turned to his right. Sam was stuck on a guy, so he just came behind Sam and then picked the guy up in the next gap, and it really shut it down. And then you see it also when he's directing the run game, IDing the mic and knowing where we're going to as far as those things. Those are veteran things that you learn over time. You're very comfortable with, and Tyler has done that very well for us.
Coming into the year, new O-line, no new quarterback, new coordinator with a West Coast scheme, timing, rhythm base. Did it take a little bit longer to hit this rhythm that you expected? But now that you're here, do you also feel like you guys have a higher floor or something like that?
Well, I think it is one of those things that it did take some time. It did take some growth and development, and patience is probably the only thing that you have to have for it, and allow it to get there. And again, one of the things that we were very staunch about trying to make sure we got as many reps for Sam as possible. I do think getting to where we are right now does bode well for us going forward, and again, the focus obviously is just really going to be the one game at a time mentality as we continue to prepare, but we've got to stay focused on going out and playing well against Seattle and giving ourselves the best chance to win.
Hey, Ron, your rookie class yesterday, obviously from Emanuel Forbes down to Quan Martin, KJ Henry. What halfway through a season now, how do you evaluate those guys and the contributions you're hoping to see even more out of them? Well,
it's hard to evaluate them, unless they play every down. But the biggest thing we'll say about them is you're starting to see the growth and development. Forbes had a good day yesterday. He played with a little bit more confidence. He's doing a lot of things that we asked for. And like I said, though, he's got a ways to go. There's some detailed things that he has to pay attention to. He must pay attention to if he's going to be a really good player in this league. Quan got some opportunities yesterday and flew around and put himself in position. First of all, as a special teams guy, he's been solid all year for us, and he had a solid game as well. But then getting his opportunities playing safety, and then we moved him around and put him down near the box as a Buffalo type player. Again, he had a couple of chances to make some plays. He did. He had obviously the interception dropping down into coverage. He almost had a big hit on the quarterback. He was half a step away, but his blitzing he's a really good blitzer, and so we see some growth and development and opportunities for him there. And that's something we may need to take a look at as to whether to use him a little bit more as a blitzer. You're looking at KJ getting his first real chance, and it's funny because somebody said, well, he wasn't blocked. Well, if you look at it, it's a very subtle move, and what he did, and I believe he was working with Duran, he faked an ET move and then bounced back outside and put himself in position to make the sack. And I mean, that was something you see from a savvy veteran, not from a rookie. So that was really good to see. He's a very smart, very bright player. He did another thing too in one of our defenses that called for the defensive end to drop into coverage. He did a really nice job and put himself in the throwing lane. So he showed some really good growth. He really did. So, those young guys are coming along pretty well. And again, if these young guys play and grow and develop, things bode well as we go further down the line.
Anybody else?
With KJ's penalty, how do you coach him around these roughing calls? I mean, what do you tell him in these instances?
The biggest thing, is I'm going to ask the league for the explanation, and then asking also if they could give us the definition of that again, just so we can make sure we're sure about it. But I think the biggest thing is not going to tell you KJ to change anything for the most part. And maybe the biggest thing is just be aware of when you go to the ground with the guy, try to brace yourself best you can. And again, it's one of those things that it's a difficult job for these guys to try and interpret the rules, and again, quarterback safety is one of the concerns, obviously. But we'll do he'll do the best he can.
Hey Ron, what has Jameson meant to you guys?
Well, it's interesting because when you watch him play, he's a guy that's really grown into the role. He's in a tough spot right now because he's splitting his time between being a will/dime backer and being the Mike backer in situations, and it's tough. We're asking him to do a lot. He's handled it. He's been a very dynamic guy for us. He's going to make a lot of good plays, and every now and then he'll have a mental something that'll slow him down. But he's competitive. He's a high impact player. In a lot of respects, he reminds me of Thomas Davis that I had in Carolina and that we had here for a year. He's that kind of a impact player who's still growing. I know he's in his third year and everybody's got high expectations, and so do we. But he's still learning and growing for us.
I was talking about Jamison Crowder.
Oh, Crowder! I thought you said didn't he say?
I said Jamison.
Oh, Jameson! I thought you meant Jamin. I'm sorry. Jameson's been tremendous, John. He really has. One thing he's done is he's brought a little excitement and a little energy and a little bit more to the special teams. One of the things that we harp on is that we think we have two very dynamic returners, and you have to do your job to give them a chance to do their job. Yesterday we opened up with a kickoff, and AG pops one for 37 yards, I believe it was. Then we turn around and Jameson had two 14-yarders and a 10-yard return, and if he doesn't have a -5, his average is solid. And that's one of the things that we harp about is that for every 10 yards we get beyond the 25 on kickoffs, that's one less first down our offense has to get. For every 10 yards our punt return man gets, that's one less first down our offense has to get. So we try to stress that. And when you have both types of returners, those guys buy into a little bit more to Coach Nate's plans. So that's one of the really dynamic things that he's done for us, John. And then as an offensive player, slot player, he's been tremendous. He really has. And he's gotten more and more opportunities, and it's really has helped us. One thing that you see is his professionalism, his willingness to go out there and play. And one thing that he's done too that's been a great example for all of our young receivers is dude will go downfield and block. And there were a couple instances yesterday where he helped spring a couple of guys for 7-8 more yards, and that's another valuable thing. So I think John, really his leadership by example.
All right, well, hey, Ron, I'm sure Charlie's going to be nice and let me ask you two really quick questions. Following the trades, obviously it puts a lot more focus on John Allen and Daron Payne. Daron has 1 sack to this point this year. Sacks are not always an indicator of performance, but what are you kind of seeing there that his numbers are down to this point?
Well, I think one of it is, like you just said, it's not necessarily an indicator of what his impact really has been. And so, again, it's just one of those things that you just continue to work through it, and those numbers will come. But it's really not about the numbers as much as it's about the impact.
And with regards to Sam, obviously he still has still has things to master, even things he's improved upon. But is there something else that over the rest of the season you think maybe now you're looking to see what's the next thing I guess you're looking to see from him to incorporate or to really kind of step up his game that maybe hasn't been as much of a focus to this point?
Well, I don't think it necessarily is just about him as much as it's about the offense and then the whole team as a unit, as a group. And I think that's probably the most important thing is that now we as an offense, we have to play consistent. We as a team, we have to play complementary, consistent football. And I think now that's an opportunity, and especially with guys starting to buy in. I think to Scott's point, and I really do appreciate it, was what John Allen said. I mean, again, if you see this, if you're starting to see this amongst the players, you're going to start to see, I think, the feeling and the sense that, we have a chance, we have an opportunity, and hopefully, we are where we all think we can be, and that will only come over time. Like I said, we're not where we want to be. We haven't arrived by any means, but our focus has to be playing one game at a time and playing that one game consistently, and playing it with the opportunity, the chance to play complementary football and close the game out at the end.
All right, we'll take one more.
Just one quick question about Jahan's touchdown. It looked like him and Terry were running basically the same route, pretty close together. Was that by design, or was something else supposed to happen?
Well, if you look at it, it was basically off of the releases and then the way they were getting squeezed down by the coverage. And again, it's one of those things that if you go and you release outside and you get squeezed down inside, or you're getting pushed outside a little bit by the coverage. But the biggest thing and the most important thing about that play, more than anything else, was really where the ball was thrown. It was thrown to the point where the only guy that could make the play was Jahan. I mean, I thought that was about as excellent an opportunity. And it's one of those things too where to the point earlier in the questions that were asked earlier in the year, what's going on with Jahan? Well, I think a big part of it is, just the development and growth of the offense itself. I think the biggest thing more than anything else has been, it's taken some time. I think what Eric has done with those guys, what the offensive coaches are doing with the offensive side of the football, has been really solid. And it's just been a matter of time, growth, and development. And now we're starting to see it. And I think, if you look at how the ball was distributed to all the guys that are playmakers for us, I mean, it was pretty impressive. I thought we ran the ball with some balance to throwing the football, and that's kind of what we hope to see and continue to see.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
Cool. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.